Just wanted to quickly again say thank you for, serving on this committee and doing what you do in your own individual
Come in.
capacity. In your own individual capacity for the town. I know since I've been here, like I've communicated in the email, I've heard from many of you and many folks outside of this group, a lot of what's happening in town and what's not happening or perhaps should be happening in town. A lot of passion around the rural nature of the community and how we manage growth if we ever move in a direction where we actually do see growth. There's other projects that we see that come into town, and I've heard both sides around feeling toward projects like the solar panel and marijuana companies coming into the town, and around zoning related issues on that front. I think all of that will be able to kind of, through this process, work together toward mitigating each of those. And Catherine, like I said, Catherine and Ken will go more into this, but in our master planning, which is a vision plan from today to the next 10 to 20 years out, where do we want to see our community go? And we're going to be soliciting a lot of input from, our neighbors out in the community to make sure that there's enough input on, from folks out there in this process, so that we can, ensure that our plan is reflecting the wishes of the community. So this is going to really help all of us, from the select board to this office, to our zoning board, to our planning board, members on the conservation, council on aging, board of health, all the decision makers that we have. The result of this plan is going to really help steer those decisions, more or less. But again, this is great. I'm glad you guys are going to be participating in this. We have a lot of work to do between now and then, and I'm going to pass it to now Catherine and Ken so they can take the show here.
Thanks, Josh. And thank you all for being here. So again, I'm Catherine Rattay. I manage the environment and land use section at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. And Ken Comia is our zoning specialist in our land use environment section. And many of you know Ken from working on the planning board assistance program last year. So thanks to Kara for this beautiful photo. Josh said 9 or 10 months, but it's really going to be 8 months. All of this work has to be wrapped up in a bow by June 30th of 2021. So it's going to be a really exciting, intense 8-month process, and really one of the months is almost over. So it's really going to be 7 months. So you can go, you can go to the next slide. We know who all of you are, but oh, I'm sorry. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to get to know each other a little bit better. We're going to walk through what is a master plan, but in particular, what is a resilient master plan, because you guys are not just doing a regular conventional master plan, you're doing it with the focus on resilience. We'll tell you about the community engagement we have planned, that your meeting schedule, what your responsibilities are, and the next steps. So this is the list that we have. So we know what your official representation is on this committee, but let's stop share for a second. And what we'd like you to do is introduce yourselves, talk about just how many years you've lived in the town, and then what are your hopes for this master planning process for your community, this resilient master planning process, and try to keep it to a minute or two. Excuse me. And Chief Matur, how do you pronounce your name, Chief?
It's Mater, close enough.
Mater, okay. So I know you were in East Hampton back when we did the East Hampton master plan in 2008. So I thought maybe you could kick it off and just say, I know you're new to town, but what are your hopes for this master planning process?
I hope that, seeing the benefit in East Hampton, when it was done in 08, I was the deputy chief who got stuck with everything because the chief didn't want to do it. And I see how that helped East Hampton with a vision, looking 12 years into where they are, and how East Hampton, 2 different city planners use that as the Bible to build East Hampton. And I think it'd be great for Blandford moving forward to have this document to fall back on as they look at new construction and new growth.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
And then-
Catherine, just so
Yes.
you're aware, that other number, 413-32005, that's Rainey Senecal, the highway superintendent.
Okay,
Kind of, if you could just rename that, so RENE Senecal. Sorry, go ahead, Catherine.
all right, so I'll just call on the next person. So Nicole and Pat, could you introduce yourselves, how long you've lived in town, and what are your hopes for this master planning process?
All right, so I'm Nicole and I'm the library director. I've lived in town since I was 3 years old and then built a house here 8 years ago next to my parents. And I'm, as the library director, really motivated to make sure that the town continues to attract new residents, as well as keep the old residents here. And I really want to see it to become a place that's centered around everybody becoming a community and learning to the fullest extent, and hopefully with a lot of involvement in the library as a community center.
I love that.
And
Your turn,
Pat,
Mom.
Okay.
yeah,
Hello, I'm Pat Davio. I've lived in Blandford for 33 years now. And I was a working member for many years, and now I'm a retired person. So, and I have a child and a grandchild here. So I want to see the community reflect all age groups, and I want things that attract many generations.
great. I'm gonna go to Sonia next.
Hi, I think I'm the newbie. We've only been in town here for about 1.5 years. So I joined the Zoning Board of Appeals. My husband's on the planning board, and I'm here, representing that committee. And going forward, I would just love Blandford to be that, small town that attracts many people, and have it be the wonderful place to live as it is now, and continue to do that, whatever that means.
Thank you. Joanne is next.
Hi, how are you, Catherine? I am Joanne Martin. I work for the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator. I'm relatively new in town. I've been here about 7.5 years, I think, working for the town for about 3 years, so I'm still learning. I would love to help out as much as I can here. Not a lot of experience in the area, but I hope to see the town grow, but to keep its charm.
Thank you. And David Hobson.
Hi. Let's see, I've been in town for 43 years, but as a kid, spent lots of summers up here with some other families. I'm currently superintendent of schools for the district. I also been town moderator for, a couple of decades now, and have served on a number of other committees over the years, including school committee. I also am on the Ag Commission, and I am one of the few farmers in town.
Oh,
I just want to see the town continue to grow and do better, but in a way that's sustainable, in a way that helps people enjoy the life we have out here in the country.
thank you. Renee is next.
Yes, well, first of all, I'm not a resident. However, I was a resident in Chester, and I did utilize Blandford's facilities and everything for many, many years, because I was there for 27 years. I've seen in the time I've been here do a tremendous amount of effort in upgrading their roadways, their safety issues, and their equipment and personnel. And I just would like to see it continue on. And as the superintendent of the highway, our job is to ensure that the quality of life for the people here in town are getting better, and just like to be part of that process.
Great, thank you. Pliny Norcross is next.
And I'm known as Chips.
Chips, thank you.
It's easier to remember. And you pronounce Pliny right. That's pretty good.
Famous poet.
Anyway, our family has been connected with Blandford since 1955, with various times my parents had it as a retreat, initially in summer retreat, and then retired here and lived here for 20 years. And then I bought our place from them about 20 years, 25 years ago. And I've retired up here and have been here as a retired person for about the better part of 10 years. And I'm president of the Historical Society and have served on the Conservation Commission. And I'm obviously very interested in preserving any kind of historical material that we have in town and keep our historical society growing and being strong and getting more people involved. We've had a major project we're halfway through working on the iconic white church in town, and which we own, the Historical Society owns. And so that's a major project for me. And that's a good summary.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Kid RW is next. I'm not sure if your first name is RW or.
It's Robert W. and I go by Bob.
Okay, Bob.
I've lived in town 42 years and have successfully been uninvolved in town activities for 42 years. Chip's got after me to come in and do this and get after me to be on the Historic Society board. I am recently fully retired. I had 2 careers simultaneously. I spent 47 years as a science teacher, science department chairman, taught all the way from 7th grade to seniors in college. I spent 44 years in the general practice of law and have been pretty much involved in a few other outside things. I sit on the executive board for the local Scout Council, Boy Scout Council, and have a dabbling in music, play in a couple of groups, but that's about it.
Great, thank you. And Mary. Mary, are you still there?
Hey, Mary, you just got to unmute.
All right, we'll go to Margaret and then we'll wait for Mary.
Hi, I'm Margaret
Okay.
McCuskey. We've lived in town for 40 years now. I'm currently the director of the Council on Aging, and I served many years up here as tax collector and town accountant. I still work part-time, very part-time, mostly from home now. I'd like to see growth continue, and I would like to see programs developed that would include not just the seniors, but include the younger generation, maybe people that are going to be seniors in a few years, to start coming together and finding common interests, common grounds. My dream for down the road, of course, would be to have a senior center up here.
Great. And Mary, we see you have turned on your camera.
Hey, Mary.
Hi, yes, I'm sort of on the low tech end of these things so far. I've been in town 44 years. I'm still a newbie. I would like very much to see us use the land that we have available to develop to its best use. 2/3 of our land mass is already either state forest or conservation or watershed. So there's not a lot left to do. I would like to see us be a welcoming community, and I'd like to see us capitalize on our assets, specifically maybe the use of open spaces.
Great.
I'm also on the Board of Library Trustees. I have worn a lot of different official hats in town, including assessor, treasurer, the library, being the general gopher. Even when the school was in session, if somebody needed clean clothes, I would run them over. So anyway, that's all from me.
Thank you, Mary.
Insightful. You're welcome.
And Judith.
Hi, I'm Judy McKinnon, and I was surprised to be subtracting and finding out I lived here about 24 years, which is longer than I thought. I'm also retired. I was a teacher for 47 years in elementary school. I'm on the Council on Aging, and I work at the Historical Society, and I've been working on oral histories, which has really been a wonderful surprise for me, since I didn't know a lot of people up here until just a few years ago, and I'm getting to know them, and I'm enjoying it very much. I think more than anything else, I'd love to see us become more multi-generational, and to do more things together. The seniors in town are very happy to work with other people, and I think they would really enjoy having some activities and projects to improve our town together with other age groups. I'd love to see that. We also have talked about sometime, and this is a dream, having some sort of housing up here that would be for, I don't know, multi-generational, but for seniors, since some of their homes are kind of large and it's hard for them to continue to keep them up. But they still want to be here because they love the town. If there was a way something like that could happen. So I think those are my thoughts right now.
Great, thank you very much. Did I get everybody?
Yep.
Okay, good. So this is wonderful, and I think you're all the right people to be here. Okay, we got Peter. We have a new person. Hi, Peter. We are introducing ourselves. Oh, you're connecting to audio.
The audio.
Well, Catherine, maybe we should ask Josh.
What his hopes are?
Yeah.
All right, while Peter's getting connected, Josh, why don't you share what your hopes are, and why did you launch this whole thing? You and the planning board. And
hello, everybody. I'm Josh, and I am not a resident yet, but we'll see what happens in the very near future as more homes become available that I can actually consider purchasing, if not, But anyways, since I've been here as the town administrator, the key focus for me really has been doing what I can to help the residents here improve the quality of life for everybody. A place where folks can live, raise a family, and I think more importantly, and the reason why it's important, age in place. Living in a rural community like Blandford, it can be a challenge for folks of the older generation to live here, especially during harsh weather seasons, especially with limited access to transportation, limited access to essential services. It can be a challenge, how do we meet those gaps as we proceed forward? And also a place for folks that don't live in Blandford to want to come and visit and enjoy I think Mary hit the nail on the head. Our assets here. We have many recreational opportunities that we're not really tapping into and managing well. And I think that there might be an opportunity there to be a place, a destination for folks to want to visit Blandford and participate and enjoy these assets. But that's me. Back to you.
I muted myself. Peter, we're just doing a quick, how long have you lived in town, and what are your hopes for being on this Resilient Master Plan Committee?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Peter? Oh. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
What do you hope to accomplish with this master plan for Blandford?
I'm not quite sure I can answer that right now, but I'm on the broadband committee and bringing that to town. So there's some background noise here that is, do you hear it?
Yeah.
It's like a dog or something barking. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's just the sound. Yeah. I guess everybody can mute if you're not talking, but just remember to unmute.
So I've lived in Blandford 51 years, and for the last 7 years been trying to get this the broadband, and finally They delivered the strand today and they'll start on the 30th. So I think that's, we're well on the way to getting that. And I think that many of the things that Josh mentioned and knowing with the schools, I don't know if Dave's on yet, that this high-speed internet will help. So that would be my my goal. It is my goal.
Great, thank you. So this is wonderful, and we've taken notes, and I should have told you all that we're recording all of these sessions, and so we can post them. We have a web page for this project that will be off the town webpage in a couple of days. So you'll be able to go there to get all the information about this effort, all the notes from the meetings. You can check in on these recordings. If you missed something in a meeting or you weren't able to come, everything will be there. And so now I'm going to turn it back to Ken to do the basics of what is a master plan, a resilient master plan.
Well, before we do that, Catherine, I just wanted to quickly introduce the team that will be working with the town. So as Catherine introduced herself, I'm Ken Komiya. I'm a senior planner in the land use and environment section. And we are serving as co-project managers for this particular project. And we have some specialists that are going to be coming to the various meetings that we'll be having with the community and with you all. You may know some of these names. Patty Gambarini of our land use and environment section. She is going to be working on economic development chapter with this project. Ted Harvey is a senior community development planner, and he's going to be working on housing. Gary Rue, the section head for the transportation department, or co-section head, is working on the transportation chapter, and Shannon Walsh is our historic preservation planner and working on the historical and cultural resources. Ray Sentinel, Jake Dollinger, Doug Hall, and Todd Zukowski are going to be doing the data, GIS mapping, and the communications, the graphics, and the website work. So those are the team at PVPC. Catherine will talk about some other partners that we're going to be working with in this endeavor. But I think to start off with, what is a resilient master plan? And so to start, the elements of a master plan are your goals, your land use section, housing, economic development, cultural and historic resources, natural resources, open space and recreation, transportation, services and facilities, and implementation. So obviously you come up with these goals and you direct it towards these various aspects of town government and the various aspects of trying to affect the health of your town. You have to somehow implement them. And so one of the important parts is the implementation portion. The implementation portion is a policy guide, and it is a policy guide in that it will allow the town to identify, through this process, identify the various initiatives and strategies for accomplishing those, identifying the authorities that would be doing the work to administer or forward some of those topics. The planning board is the adopter of the master plan, but their municipal government and all aspects of it will be responsive to the strategies that are identified in this. And also on this slide, it suggests that the boards and commission should consistently use this. Through this process, a master plan committee will be developed after, and that committee will be responsive to the strategies and the ideas that were brought forth in this particular process, and work on doing that. So if it's regulatory changes, having the planning board or conservation commission look at some of those ideas, or if it's identifying some capital improvements, that's the work of the select board and your town administrator, but there's, and finance committee. And so there's various ways that everyone will be involved after this particular project. And I'm glad that the town was able to assemble all of the voices that we have here to help assist in identifying those things. So like I said, what is master plan? This is what is resilience. As Catherine mentioned, resilience is a component of this master plan as per the MVP action grant that the town received. And so, oops, it's moving too fast. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. The Rockefeller Foundation's 100 Resilient Cities initiative identifies resilience as the capacity of individuals, communities, institutions, businesses, and systems within a town to survive, adapt, and grow no matter what kinds of chronic stresses and acute shocks they experience. And so that'll be important, an important umbrella to identify the various issues that are within town and how to affect some of the goals you may identify to address those within the context of this resilience component, particularly in climate change and how that affects many aspects of our daily lives. What this master plan process is going to include is reviewing the existing conditions to identify issues, challenges, and needs. And so, as I mentioned, the team that we have assembled doing the GIS mapping, the data collection, those folks who work in our office are, on top of understanding the census data sets, the Massachusetts data sets from the labor office, identifying those various sets of data and being able to communicate that through our public process that we're going to be using in the next couple of months. Distilling public input gained via survey and series of meetings into guiding principles that will help us develop goals. And so with that said, we are going to be engaging the community through a community survey and some focus groups and community meetings that at this point is still virtual, but we're going to be able to try to gauge the sentiment of the community, and that's going to be important in identifying the issues and moving forward from there to have that discussion of what goals and strategies may need to be identified. Develop strategies to achieve those goals. So I quickly went to that point, and then obviously, as I mentioned before, how we're going to go about identifying a pathway to implement those goals and identify when. What are your low-hanging fruit? What are things that you can, as a town or a board that is responsible for one of the strategies that may be identified, how you go about implementing that. So we're going to move to community engagement. And I'm just going to switch screens here because we're going to talk about the survey first. And
while he's doing the switch, if anybody has any questions, I forgot to say, you can, wave at us. You can put a comment in the chat, unmute yourself and just start talking if you have any questions as we're going along.
Okay, let me share this. This is going to be, we're going to quickly talk about a survey effort that we're gonna hopefully get started. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So with every community master plan process, normally there's a survey, and this is a significant survey. It's at least 15 minutes long. I tried to do it, and it was about 15 minutes. Reading through everything, being mindful of the various skill levels and on trying to answer some of these questions. So this has been internally reviewed, and we're probably still refining it, but I think the committee may have some, be able to provide some guidance. And I think what we'll do after this, because the survey is not set to go live until December, but I think between now and our next meeting, identifying how we're going to finalize this and get the word out. Typically, when we're not in COVID times, there would be an opportunity to have a hard copy and then also fill it out online. And I think after speaking to the town administrator, it sounds as if that could still be doable, at least the town hall being the place where you can pick up a survey, a hard copy of the survey, and deliver it there, if that is the method that the residents want to go and do that. So some of the initial kind of directions or assessments that we want to make and kind of gauge the community sentiment on are your values. I think that knowing that you are a rural town with a population that's not similar to some of the larger cities or the larger towns around you, I think we've been able to, at least internally and working with some of our staff that has worked in the community and working with Josh, identify questions that make sense. So we have a values section here, and there's 12 questions. It identifies your top 3 reasons, among everything else, top 3 reasons why you live in Blandford, identifying what those values are and why it's important to you. The quality of life issue, how you measure that. Identify ways that you could see the town growing. And as far as future development, either being housing or commercial development, if that's something that the town wants to explore further. Because this is a resilient master plan, identifying clean energy production, understanding that development and redevelopment should respond to the anticipated impacts of climate change. So if there are best practices that can be employed in development and redevelopment, seeing what the town sentiment on that is. With every survey, there's a demographic section. And as I'm quickly reading through the chat and thankfully Catherine is able to respond to some of those. Yes, this will be available to you to review and provide your comment on how we should be pursuing administering this and getting the word out. Or if there are questions that don't make sense in the context of Blandford. Housing.
Andre, hold on one moment.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly mention that we are not able to let people in the town hall right now, like on a whim basis. So maybe if it was somewhere else, like the post office, it would be a really great place for it. And then also potentially putting it in like maybe, oh, I don't know, the library foyer, or also having it available to do online might be a good way of targeting people as well.
That's great.
Oh, that's right. I know it is available electronically, but linking it, I'm sorry. I mean, like linking it to the People Who Love Blandford and Blandford Speaks Out Facebook pages, if that's possible. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to quickly mention that before we get
we want you to
involved.
interrupt. That's great. And Peter has asked Ken to go a little bit slower back to the list of services. And also we want to welcome Kara. Thank you for being here, Kara.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
No problem.
So this has been refined. Actually, there were some additional components added to what was there originally. So I think, if you're able to provide additional comments or additional services you may want to include here, please provide those.
Yeah, we will email you all this, as this copy this in Word that you can edit so that we can refine it, but then it will go into an electronic survey platform like SurveyMonkey or Survey Gizmo or something. So it will be able to be completed completely online. But again, for people who aren't comfortable with online, or maybe they don't have broadband, because you're still, I know my parents used to live in Ashfield. Some communities are still working on that.
Okay. So in the survey, we also address some questions about housing, where people live, how there was an issue identified and by multiple people with regards to aging in place. How important is it for you to be able to live independently in your home as you age? So I think that really captures some of the community sentiment with regards to that. And I think having a measurable number will be helpful to really explain the goals and strategies as the town pursues them. The various housing types, based on your income level, the affordability, if you're able to purchase a home in Blandford. So definition of affordable housing, we as a regional planning agency, because we are, we work with many communities, and the governor's office has identified housing as an important need throughout the Commonwealth. There's a section here about affordable housing. I listed that your community is very small, so it makes sense that your subsidized housing inventory, and I'm highlighting here with the blue, is under 1%. The goal is 10%. But I think that's just something to be mindful of with regards to if there's any discussion that may come up with regards to affordable housing. Land use. So we'll be working on, with land use. As Catherine mentioned, I have supported the planning board in the past, working as a consultant for some of the various projects, and PVPC has done that in the past. So, knowing the zoning bylaw to the effect that I do, there may be some conversations about land use and being able to look at regulations to see if that can address the comment that was being able to use the land to the best ability, knowing that you have this challenge that 2/3 of the land are protected or wetlands or owned by the state. Talks about the town center, the strategies to adopt to address future growth, identifying zoning regulations and exploring it that way. The comment about economic development, that's an important component of the master plan, and Patty will be working with you. She worked in the town of Chester and has this understanding of economic development with regards to rural communities. So I think that the team that will be working with Catherine, with Patty, will be able to assist her in identifying the issues and providing some guidance for goals and strategies with regards to economic development. And then and this is the last important component, open space and recreation. So Catherine will mention later in the presentation when we talk about timeline. There's also part of this grant is an open space and recreation plan. So we're going to be doing the survey efforts through the master plan survey. And these are specific to questions that would possibly be asked in a open space plan community process. And so as we identify these questions, I probably will be reaching out to I know Chips has been on the Conservation Commission, and I have notes here on the other folks that could be helpful to identifying questions that we need to ask for this particular section. But it's also to be used to complement the open space plan that will be forthcoming as part of this grant. Yeah, that's it. And then having the ability to provide additional comments. And that's where I would normally find lots of the fun comments, about the various aspects of municipal government that are not captured elsewhere in the survey. But as Catherine mentioned, we will send this out to the group for an initial comment. And Catherine, we're gonna just move to the next section, which is.
Okay, before we go back to the
Sure.
to this screen share, does anybody, I know I appreciate Peter and David were putting some comments in the chat, but does anybody have any other quick responses to the survey, just things that are popping in your head that you want to make sure we cover that we maybe didn't cover, or things that you think are particularly important? Okay, great.
Bob Kidd.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see a divide in the recreation section, motorized vehicles versus passive or unmotorized vehicles. You've lumped ATVs and snowmobiles in with biking and cross-country skiing. I think those two things should be divided.
Great, thank you.
That's great. That's a great note. Okay. All right, let me go back to sharing screen, and we're gonna go to the outreach plan, which Josh shared with the group, and Catherine is going to talk about the outreach plan.
Okay. Thanks, Ken, and thanks everybody for your comments throughout. And again, please just feel free to unmute and ask a question or put things in the chat. But so again, Chief Motter, and I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, but I think I pronounced it correctly. He knows from East Hampton that this is a very tight time frame that you all are committing to, and that we're all committing to, and it's great, it's exciting because it won't drag on, but it just means that a lot is going to happen in these 7 months. And so you can see November, here we are discussing at the committee of the survey. This goes through June, and so just walking, from the left, we will have this website page up in the next week. Again, you'll be able to just go to the town website and click right on it, and you'll see everything. So that will be a great place to tell all your friends and family how they can get engaged in this process throughout the process. The meeting agendas will be there, the notes from the meeting, the recordings of the meetings. So it's going to be very transparent. And the whole goal is for everybody to feel like this is their plan. So the survey will be going out. For those of you from the business community or who are familiar with strategic planning, we're thinking of this. It's such a tight time frame that we're using the sort of traditional strategic planning approach, which is identifying strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Mitigating the threats, building on the opportunities. That's the approach that we're taking. The goal is to have the survey finalized and then launch it in December. If we can do that before the meeting with comments, we will, but I think it's fine if we get all your comments, we finalize it, we send it back out, and then at the December meeting, you all give your final blessing, and then it gets emailed out to everybody, posted on the website, etc. The community vision, so as Ken said, the engagement is the survey as the big broad thing for everybody to have a chance to give input. But then we have some very structured engagement activities that are happening. Obviously, you all serving on this Resilient Master Plan Committee is a key piece of engagement because you are 12 people, I think that's correct, 13 people, sorry, who have significant experience in the community, who are committed to the community, who have your own visions already. And so you're going to be major input engagement people. But again, we want to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity. So because the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, because so many of our municipalities were successful with their municipal vulnerability preparedness action grants, we are engaging another firm to work with us on some of the pieces of this process. So the community engagement will be run by another firm yet to be hired. We are having the responses will be received by December 3rd. So we expect to have that company engaged by December 4th. So you will be meeting them at the December meeting. But their job will be to organize a community vision workshop that will be happening. As you can see, it's a little bit up in the air just because of the timing, but we think it will happen in either January or February. The idea is we will have already had the survey. So we will have got the big broad brush engagement from everybody. And then the vision will be the chance to come together virtually. Unfortunately, we will not be able to do it in person, but with a big Zoom meeting. So, and we are comfortable with facilitating that. I've been in conferences with 4,000 people on Zoom, 250 people, 150. We can do that with breakout rooms and with the technology. So we have, plenty of people, as you've seen, working on this project to make sure that everybody has a chance to, their voices will be heard. But so there will be a community vision workshop, which will result in a vision statement and guiding principles of all these values to say, these are the things that we agree on in town. We know that not everybody will agree on everything, but if we can find where those threads of agreement are, then we will build on that to make this vision a reality. So that will be happening December, January, February. The GIS analysis and the data collection, the geographic information systems analysis and the data collection, again, our staff are doing that. We will be presenting the draft chapters to you all as drafts for your input and feedback. You will give us comments, we will revise them, and then they will be finalized. So that's going to happen throughout. But if you jump all the way down to the community engagement, which is about 2/3 of the way down, thank you, Ken. So there's the survey and the visioning, but then there is going to be 3 engagement events, at least 1 during the workday. And then there's going to be focus groups, stakeholder interviews. We will be working with whatever media you all tell us to, the Country Journal, your local Facebook pages, the group that you just mentioned earlier. I can't remember the name of it, but we will be looking to you all to tell us these are the places where people get their news in town, whether it's the New York Times. I don't think we'll get in the New York Times, but if it's the Republican or the Country Journal or a local outlet, we will be making sure that the information about this process is there. And then again, we'll be looking to you all to tell us who are the stakeholders that aren't among the 13 of you that we need to talk to. And it could be people that don't live in town. It could be, influential people, anybody that you want to have their input in this process, you tell us and we will make sure that we talk to them and get their input. The other thing, and again, feel free to jump in, ask me questions. As Ken said, so you guys were really successful in getting not just funding for this resilient master plan, but also funding to update your open space and recreation plan, which hasn't been updated since 2005, and to do a regulatory review of your stormwater regulations and make sure that they integrate nature-based solutions as possible to build on the resilience, which is this push from Governor Baker and his staff to make sure that all of the municipalities in Massachusetts are able to withstand the increasingly severe and unpredictable weather events that we are all experiencing. So that's going to be happening at the same time. And then in May, we will have this implementation workshop. So all the chapters will have been done. All the data will have been collected and analyzed. All the input will have been there. And then we'll have the workshop to try to prioritize, because there's probably going to be 50 to 100 action strategies that will have emerged out of all these different focus areas. So then we'll have the workshop to say, okay, what are the really top priorities and who's going to take responsibility? Where's the funding that we can get to implement them, and how are we going to move forward? So, by the end of June, you won't just have a plan that's going on a shelf, you'll have a plan that's a guide to your future and your goals for the next 10 or 15 years. Any questions or comments about that process? I see you've put in the information of where we can use media. That's really helpful. Thank you. All right, so now I think we should have a little activity. If we can go back to looking at each other.
Okay.
So just because you've been listening for a long time, I have a little activity to get you up out of your chair for a moment. So this is called Stand Up If. So stand up if you have worked on a community master. Oh, everybody has to turn on their cameras too, because we got to see each other while we're doing this. If you have a camera, please turn it on.
Don't feel bad, Rainey. We trust you.
Oh, it's Rainey, not Renee. Sorry about that. Okay, so stand up if you have worked on a community master plan. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mary. All right, and you have to sit back down again. Okay, stand up if you have lived through a natural disaster. All right.
I'm standing.
And you have to sit back down because you got to get up and down. Stand up if you have lived in Blandford for more than 30 years. Nice. Okay, you have to sit back down again. Stand up if you have lived in Blandford for less than 5 years. There we go. Sonia gets to stand up. Okay, stand up if you have lived overseas.
I'm standing again.
Okay, stand up if you speak a language other than English.
All right. You have to stand up.
And finally, stand up if you have farmed or raised animals. All right. So that was just our little activity to get you standing up and also to learn a little bit more about each other. And we'll do things like this, just sprinkling it through to make sure we are awake and engaged.
Good.
Back to you, Ken.
Okay. That was a lot of fun. Let's go back to the screen.
Oh, yes.
And so we're now at the part we're going to talk about how you're going to play a role in this process. So committee responsibilities. We're going to talk about the responsibilities of the committee. There is a component that, you know, there's a part that all of you will play, whether or not it's engaging the community, telling your neighbor, hey, did you fill out that survey? Reminding them to do that, among other things. So we're just going to go quickly through that list. The responsibilities. Attend every our monthly meetings. We're going to talk about the next steps about when our future meetings are going to be. Hopefully we can schedule something that is more consistent with everyone's calendar, and we know that it's going to be happening at those times. Comment on the PVPC's review of existing plans, visions, and proposed actions. As Catherine mentioned, there's going to be this information gathering that we're doing right now from our homes, as we're all working from home, to provide some insight into that you will help assist with that. As Catherine mentioned, identifying the various population and groups that have vested interest in the town, and it would be helpful in the process of identifying you know, who we could be interviewing in our focus groups or stakeholder meetings. And as Catherine mentioned, also identifying those that don't live in town, that have an interest in Blandford, as well as are familiar with some of the various things that are happening in the community. What you're going to be doing for homework is review and provide input in the drafting of the survey questions for a community-wide survey and assist with identifying ways to inform all residents about it. You know, in the chat, you know, we noticed that you put some of those various ways to get in touch with the community. So that's going to be very helpful as we get the word out. Participating in the public education events, the visioning workshops that we'll be going to be scheduling when we have our community engagement person on board. Reviewing and comment on the data analysis conducted by PVPC for each of the master plan chapters. I think that's going to be very important. You know, there's only so much that can be taken away from something that we get from the census or from the State Department of Labor. You guys know what's happening on the ground. So it's going to be important to either question or suggest another source of trying to find that data that helps support some of the conversations that we're having with your neighbors in regards to identifying issues or possibly recommending some goals and strategies that we can help with. assisting in the drafting of goals, strategies, and action steps, implementation for each of the master plan chapters. I think as I've been working in master planning efforts with other communities, this is probably one of the harder things, especially after the plan gets done. It's how do you use that momentum? How do you identify the players in your community that will help get you to implementing a lot of these various things that you're going to identify? It's one thing to put it on a page, but you actually have to be moving on it and using you know, the powers of the various groups and the people that will help get that achieved. Review and edit master plan chapters as they're developed, and attend the Resilient Master Plan public forums, hearings as scheduled. So that's that. The next item is electing a chair and vice chair. So for that particular process, it's identifying the two people, chair, vice chair, or co-chairs maybe. And ideally that person or people would open and conduct and adjourn the meetings on time, be available in addition to the rest of the committee members to assist in the preparation of the agendas that we'll be having for these steering committee, these working group committee meetings, as well as any of the stakeholder meetings or any of the public forums that we'll be convening. And then also acting as a spokesperson upon approval of the committee, of course, during public involvement processes and public exchanges. And then if the committee wants to identify a vice chair serving in the role of chair in the event the chair is absent or cannot otherwise fulfill their duties. So
at this time, if you're ready, we would love it if anybody would like to nominate themselves or be nominated, or if there's some kind of group consensus on who could be a chair. Maybe we could go back to stop sharing for a second, so we can all look at each other. Oh, Mary has volunteered. Thank you, Mary. And can you turn on if you can turn on your cameras, does anybody want to compete with Mary? Or anybody want to be her vice chair or co-chair? Anyone? Yes, Joanne. Awesome.
All right, women taking the lead.
So does anybody else want to vie for the position? Okay, so all in favor, say aye or raise your hand of Mary being the chair and Joanne being the co-chair, the vice chair.
Winning team.
Bravo.
Great. Well, thank you, Mary and Joanne. That's fantastic. And would you all like to agree to delegate Mary as your spokesperson in the event of the press wanting to speak to somebody who represents the master plan committee, the Resilient Master Plan Committee?
Mary is the press.
She is the press, yes.
Well, there you go.
Locally.
But she writes for the Country Journal, the Blandford related things, but also, you know, is the press overall, I think.
Okay, well, there you go. So you definitely want her to be the person. Well, that's awesome. So Mary, Ken and I will check in with you then when we're preparing the agendas, and then when we have our engagement person on board, we'll schedule meetings with you and Joanne as appropriate to, you know, to flesh out and make sure that you have a chance to give input on all of the agendas for all the engagement activities and all the public meetings.
And never feel, Mary, we can't hear you.
Oh, shoot.
No volume. Well, I was just going to say that you know, between Ken, myself, Catherine, we're your staff support.
Is that better?
Yes.
Perfect. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, now we can.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Hello?
Uh-oh.
We can hear
Hello?
you, but it seems like you can't hear us.
We can hear you, Mary.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay.
All
There
right,
you are.
Figured it out.
All right.
You got an acceptance speech?
It's an honor to serve the community.
Bravo.
Very diplomatic. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
All right, so that's great. As
Fantastic.
Catherine mentioned, so Mary and Joanne, I think it'll be, you know, you'll probably just be getting a little more emails, if anything, and chime in where you think that is appropriate. And as Catherine mentioned, we'll just ensure that you get on the listing for the various communications as we're preparing them to be shared either in this setting or out to the public. Yeah, I guess let me just.
And then as far as, you know, running the meetings and stuff going forward, so as the chair, you know, you can open the meeting, we can do the approval of the minutes, and then whenever you're ready, turn it over to us, you know, to do the rest of the work.
Okay. Who's taking the minutes?
I'm taking minutes for this one.
Thank you, Catherine.
And so we're actually at the end of our presentation. I'm just gonna, for the purposes of our recording, just share the screen as we're at the next steps and identifying, you know, that the survey is going to be really the big homework for the group, providing input in that. Again, I think that if those that are interested or know that they're going to be wanting to contribute with regards to the open space and natural resources section, that's going to be very important that we get the right questions there. Understanding also that an open space and recreation plan is going to be coming out of this process. And we're going to be using this master plan survey effort to also complete open space and recreation plan.
Do you have a deadline of which you want responses by? Or feedback by, I mean, by this committee on a survey?
I would say
We want it a week before when we schedule the next meeting. So let's pick the regular meeting time, and then we would like the comments a week before so we can make all the revisions, and then you have the final to finalize, and then we send it out.
And Mary, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, I was wondering, would you be able to send everybody a copy of the earlier open space plan? I have a copy, but I've loaned it out right this minute. I hope to retrieve it eventually soon.
Yes, we can email you a copy of that. I'm glad you brought that up, actually. Since we have a little bit of time, it would be great if the existing plans that we have for the town are the 2003-2005 Community Development Plan, the 2005 Open Space and Recreation Plan. We have your up-to-date Hazard Mitigation Plan. But if there's any other plans that you want us to look at, then that would be great if you could let us know now or tell Josh and we can look them up. But we'll definitely send you all a copy of the previous.
Okay, great, great, thank you. I think that will be helpful. There was also another, I don't know whether it was part of the same one, but there was another master plan developed that had us with a 2020 build out to 19,000 population, which obviously hasn't happened.
That was those build outs that the Executive Office of Energy, well, it wasn't Energy and Environment, it was just Environmental Affairs back in like 99 funded that. Yeah, I remember those. They told it was if every bit of land was developed to its availability, then that's how much your population would have grown.
Do we need to worry about that?
We hope not.
We're a long way off.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, a month from today actually would be December 22. I don't know if you want to do maybe the 29th or the week of the 14th or.
Yeah, do we want to pick the third Tuesday? Because this is a Tuesday and all but one of you is here. if we did the 15th, December 15th, and then we just did the third Tuesday for the next 7 months. Be January 19th, February 16th, March 16th, etc. Does that work for most people? Third Tuesday?
Third Tuesday, as long as it's in the afternoon, if we could do 3 to 4, that'd be great.
3 to 4 on the 15th is fine for me.
Can we do 4:30? Can we do an hour and a half? Or no?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, 3 to 4:30, the third Tuesday from now until June.
Any objections to that? Everyone comfortable with that?
If essential, we can change it. I don't know what holidays are coming up or anything.
Okay.
Or other, we don't have town business on Tuesdays so far anyway, so that's okay.
I
Okay.
guess the issue could be for Jen, because the Board of Health, if they have those COVID meetings on the third Tuesday, that might be it. But this is not the third Tuesday, this is the fourth.
This is the fourth Tuesday.
Oh, so then it might be fine. Okay, good.
So we're gonna do the 3rd or the 4th?
Third.
3rd.
The only thing that would, I would have an issue with if it be depending on weather.
Right.
And that
If
makes,
it's snowing, I'm working.
Hey, Ken, can you stop sharing so we can look at each other?
sure.
Thanks. Yes, well, of course, if it's snowing, we will not meet. Oh, but it's virtual. Oh, yeah, but you just won't be here. We'll all
Yeah,
be
it'll
here.
be busy raining.
I just meant me because I'll be out
Yeah.
plowing.
You'll be out clearing.
Yeah.
And as Catherine mentioned, it's the goal of our website to be the receptacle for all of these various agendas, meeting notes. We're going to put those plans on there once that's up and running, and we'll be sure to share that. But yeah, I think yeah, as far as the website, we're going to be putting the documents on there, and then anyone and everyone can access them.
So with
So
the
Peter
15th
has a conflict from 4 to 5, so we'll meet from 3 to 4, but if we lose you for half an hour, at least we got you for the hour.
Okay.
And we may, yeah,
Okay,
We're not
thank you.
gonna-
Yeah.
okay.
So now with the 15th scheduled, you said a week prior to for survey feedback deadline. So that'll be the 8th. That'll give us
Yes.
exactly 2 weeks to provide feedback.
Is that adequate?
Yes.
So
Okay.
we'll send to everybody the survey so you guys can review for 2 weeks and then send your feedback back to Ken and Catherine, and we'll put this all in email. Whatever your final thoughts are by the 8th or no later than the 8th.
And if anybody wants to just email me or Ken or just give us a call, we'll put our contact information. I know some people, your ideas occur after the meeting and you might not want to forget it. And so if you just want to give us a call or email us, just so that we have a repository of all your ideas and thoughts, we would appreciate that anytime. I guess we're done. Thank you so much. Is there anything else anybody wants to say? Mary, as
Thank
the
you.
chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
So
you
Mary-
so much.
Thank you.
Glad
can
you're
ex-
our fearless leaders, Joanne and Mary.
We'll see about that.
You can adjourn the meeting then, Chair.
Madam Chair.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Have a great holiday.
Happy holiday.
Bye, thank you.
Hi, guys.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
Yeah. Don't eat too much.